Good evening and welcome to the Willington Board of Education special meeting. This is our budget workshop number 2. It is January 21st, 2026, and it is 5:31 p.m. that we're calling the meeting to order. You're invited to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You? Okay, we will begin with present to speak. So if there's anybody in the room or online who's interested in sharing your thoughts or asking questions, now's a great time to do it. Or virtually, and we will get to you on the budget workshops. We only have one opportunity for present to speak at the top of the order. But we are always reviewing the previous meeting's topics, so you can bring those up as well. So anybody online or here in person who would like to share thoughts? Present to speak. All right, great, then I'll get down to it. So tonight we're going to do a brief review of programs previously presented. Those were program number 1 regarding Center Elementary School, program number 2 regarding Hall Memorial School, and we worked on program 4, which has to do with transportation at our last meeting. Did you have any updates on any of those, or did anyone have any questions?
So I received questions from Samantha Sperry, and I don't know if you want to just do one by one, if you just want to share a question and talk about it.
Yeah.
However you want. She asked about, we'll see if I'm gonna put words in her mouth.
Can you just make sure to tell us what program?
Yes, this program 1 and program 2 is what she was asking about. The real impact is in program 2 with the Chromebooks, and she was asking about should we consider phasing out Chromebooks more and just do smaller carts, I think, just so we have them for testing, or not at all. And her comment was really around, would that decrease our Novus contract? Would it decrease our long-term technology needs? She went into, I think she had done some research and said, you can rent some sort of device for testing. You want to do that for a week. But it was just, it was around long-term, what do we do with Chromebooks? And that was just, she was out, wanted to have some conversation about that. I didn't respond to her around it. I basically just said, thanks for the feedback, and the board can discuss that. My feeling is, I think we're headed in a more targeted use in the future. I think that's what Alicia's really getting at in her program 2. And my kind of comparison that, when I walk out of the house, it's like, okay, keys, wallet, ID, phone, like, do I have everything? And it's the same thing for walking into classrooms right now for kids. That I think this is changing the philosophy. Is right now it's like, okay, do I have my workbook? Do I have my pencil? Do I have they have their phone pouches, and then do I have my Chromebook? And so when they sit down, those are the things they have. The philosophy is shifting more to, I need my workbook, I need my notebook, I need my pencil. I don't necessarily need the Chromebook right now. I need it when I need to use it as a tool, but not all the time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I think that's the philosophy we're kind of, a lot of districts are sliding to that, coming back to just here. But that is, I'm not sure if that's, and I don't want to put words in her mouth. It's just something that she shared. So I don't know if you want to talk about that or wait for further discussion when she's here. So
yeah, I would like to hear more from her.
So that was really around the 20,000 that was in program 2. Okay.
Do anybody else want to, are you fine with that?
Yeah. To wait?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second item she asked about, she was asking about, do we have funds in either of the programs 1 or 2 for oil tank inspections? And the answer is no. Once we had that recent inspection where Hall School's tank got tagged because they didn't know it was new, we have to have an AV certified person. One of my maintenance guys has already done it. So we paid him for the certification, he did it, he can do the inspections. We have to do a couple repairs at center to get it up to snuff for what they want. But we can now do it in-house because he has the certification. So check the box, it's done, don't need additional things to do. If it needs maintenance of some sort that we don't know about in the future, that would be additional funds.
Did we pay for him to get that cert, or did he do it himself? Okay.
No, we paid, he said, what do you think about this? It's like $300. I'm like, you're willing to do it? He said, yes. Go for it. So we paid for the cert and he will keep it up to date. The $100 that we have to pay annually, he said, I don't think we have to do that. He's done more research on it. It just has to be up to what they're looking for when, so that when they come in, it doesn't get tagged. The good news that's also part of this, that's kind of long-term planning, as he's investigating, he believes they changed the law for our type of tank we have at center school. It's due in 2 years, that it might be able to get a 10-year extension if everything's good. So that would buy more time for that tank, which would be great. There's no known problems with it. It's just minor things like they want to make sure the flashing light side is going off. There's things like that that are minor. We're taking care of those things now through the drip funds. But no money in next year's budget because he did the cert. Okay. She advocated for this last year, put more money in the maintenance accounts. She's advocating for that again. My response is the things that are, the items I removed out of one, not out of one stayed pretty much flat. The money I removed out of two was really targeted that are repairs that can be paid for drip funds. When I went back through the budgets to see what the repairs were, those were things that could be paid for on the drip grant, which is supposed to be through next year. I can't guarantee beyond 26, 27, but it's supposed to be there, and so that's why I decreased that money.
How much is in there right now?
And well,
The drip grant.
it's supposed to be in the 40,000 range. We're talking about small repairs, like, so that's what it's gonna pay for, you know, for, we're repairing the boiler again. We're putting in mitigation, you know, for radon at Hall, so things like that, that's what the drip can pay for. Carpet replacement in the summertime, if we had to paint a classroom that wasn't gonna be done by us, those are things that can be in the repair account.
And I should know this, but is that represented in the, when you laid out the grants?
It's not. It's not an entitlement grant, and it's the first year, and I wanna make sure as it comes, just like seed. I don't have any seed offset in this grant, in this, you know, publication, because in this budget, we haven't seen the seed, some of the seed money came in. It was supposed to be July 1, we've gotten our 25% of it, I believe, 25%. But there's still no application. They updated us on Friday and said it's coming. And that's been pretty much every superintendent meeting I've had this year, it's coming. They're giving us the money, we know what the board has already approved, it's gonna be that fourth grade position, that's what it's gonna cover. But we don't have it as an offset next year because it's been a little slow from the state, and I just don't trust. I don't wanna put us in a hole. If I start seeing that it's committed and everything's good, then that's typically where I do start doing offsets, it's every other grant we have.
Okay. Drip
and seed are the two new ones that I don't think they're gonna stay long term, to be honest with you. And the last one that she brought up, was, she said that world language is not mandated in middle schools. And she's right. Students can get that when they go into the high school. If they complete a world language in the middle school, it does give them the opportunity to start at a Spanish 2 or a French. We don't offer French, well, we kind of offer French, but you could go into a French 2 when you get to the high school, but you have to be ready for it, and that's simply recommendation. Okay, so her question was, okay, so now that would be a position, it would also be Chromebooks, no need in there. It would also be the $10,000 for the program. It's just, she's looking at big picture going, what can we do where it's not going to be total decimation? I don't know that she's sold on any of these ideas, she's just trying to think, what can we look at? So those are the 4 items that she brought up. And I did not get any questions from anybody else unless you have them now.
Insurance, have we gotten an update?
Nope,
Okay.
nothing. They said February, so.
Hmm.
February 1, we're going to be on the phone saying, okay, it's February, we'd like an update.
All right, thanks, Sam. Okay, so, we are going to look at several programs tonight, starting with program 3 entitled Special Education and Related Services. We have Marcia McGinley here with us tonight to help give some information. And let's focus and figure this out.
All right, so Marcia did her narrative, that's in your budget document as well. This really is driven by the expectation that we meet individual student needs. That's what special education is about, is meeting individual student needs. It's legal, we have to do it. And that's really what this program is about. They go through meetings, that decisions are made as a group within a PPT. And then our job is to implement the outcomes and what that group decides. You really have very little flexibility in funding and what you provide here because it is legal. We don't, Marcia and I met today and she said, we are very tight in our budget for special education. There's not extra services that we provide for students. We are providing what's in the IEP and that's it. There's nothing extra in there. And so as I go through this, if you have questions about the specifics, and she has the definitions in your document. There's a lot of good information. I encourage you to read that again. There's really no difference in staffing this year. On the teacher side, the numbers may look a little bit off, but it's the same number. It's just how we apply the grant. So same one administrator who does all of PPTs in district, between both schools and supervises all of those teachers and paraprofessionals. You can see the OTPT in there is the same. They're 0.65 together. Secretaries is the same. And again, there's no 0.25. It's a portion of a person's job at center school. And so a portion of that front office staff is scheduling PPTs, making sure documents are done, and that, the parents are notified. The number of paraprofessionals, when you add up the total there, it is down 1 this year. And that's what Marcia has always done. She bases it on the number of students that need paraprofessionals today. So today, and we keep saying this, today, we need this number of paraprofessionals. It's 15 next year. That could change tomorrow, but it's 15 paraprofessionals that we need. And the 1.0 speech assistant is an additional position. That's the SLPA. Yeah, Jen.
Are those paraprofessionals, like one-to-one with kiddos or?
Some are shared academic support for kids. Most of our pairs are one-to-ones.
So most of that 14.9 or whatever it is, 14.9 is
90%.
one-to-one.
Most of them, yeah,
It's
yeah, 5%.
a high percent. You can see what the salaries look like there. Just look at the new teacher updated teacher contract, slight increase there. OTPT went down because we had somebody retire and a new person come in. The secretarial, slight increase. Paraprofessionals, there's an increase there that's contractual. But there's also a decrease in paraprofessional below. I'll talk about that in a second. The subs, we increased, and that's based on usage, actual usage. We were watching that last year, we watch it this year, and we had to increase it based upon usage. So that is an increase. When you get to purchase services,
Hang on, before you.
sorry, go ahead.
Where is the speech assistant fall on the salaries?
It's gotta be in the paraprofessional
Yeah.
line.
Okay. Alright, so if I'm doing that, it's gonna be. It's gonna be 1591 then. For the two of them, right?
SLPA.
The speech assistant and the paraprofessional, I add together.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, you're saying the total number, the 1491, the 09, and the 1.0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the purchase services, audiological repairs and maintenance has remained the same. You want to speak to that, Marcia? When we have someone who has,
Yeah, when we have somebody who has a hearing impairment, we access neck ear, northeast, I forget the acronym name. But they help us with being able to supply the students with what they need for their hearing aids, which then, work with our FM system. They provide support to our teachers on how to support the student using the systems. They also do evaluations, when we need that for the students. So it's all tied into their hearing impairment and how we can best support the student.
you can see, hi Sam. You can see the increase in outplacement tuition, that is going from 6 to 7. For services, you can see a nice decrease in school choice. And that's obviously a significant change in services. So that's about cut in half,
How many outplacements?
7 in this budget.
So,
Yeah,
and how many was last year?
6 in the budget last year. We've added an outplacement during this school year that's unbudgeted.
Mm-hmm.
So we're budgeting for the known that we, again, said this 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago at this point. You have 7 outplacements known today.
I think I'd also like to note, and I put this in the summary, that the majority of our outplacements at this point are students who have enrolled in our district, who came with an IEP that had outplacement services in the IEP. So it's important to note that, you know, when we have students enrolling in district, we have to uphold that IEP. You know, I meet with the families, I meet with the students. We have a PPT, we make sure that we can't provide those services in district, because if we can provide them in district, then we can make a change to the IEP. But when we cannot do that, we continue with outplacement,
And our experience has been, they've been appropriate.
and they have been,
I was just about to ask that, you kept going.
Yeah.
they have been.
I'm pretty sure I ask this question every year, but, I just wanna make sure that we are doing all we can to assess as frequently as is appropriate, whether kids are able to come back or not.
Right, absolutely. That is really important, because we wanna provide kids in the least restrictive environment. So if we can bring them back to district, we wanna do that. I have a great relationship with the directors of the programs that we're accessing. They know that is something that we look for. We assess it at least annually at the PPT. We'll go out to outplacements, so that is something that constantly we're assessing. And trying to be creative in how we're staffing our buildings also, to see if we could make some changes here to bring those students back.
That also applies not only to just bringing them back, but changes in services where they are. So she's got spreadsheets that she will share with me that will say, you know, there's a decrease because this need is no longer there, which is that's a good thing, right? So that need has a dollar sign tied to it. And it comes down. Sometimes it goes the other direction. There's an increased need, right? I always give the example of a para on the bus, because you need a para on the bus for certain kids. And some students, you don't need a para on the bus. The price goes up, the price goes down.
Yeah, I kind of had a question to piggyback off of that and to continue what your last statement that you just made. I'm not familiar with, you know, special education needs or anything like that, but is there anything that would it be beneficial to consider, like, and I know there's a fine line because I'm just trying to think of how I want to word this, sorry. maybe providing too many services in-house to create like an influx of people who need those services to come to be like, oh wow, look, they have that here at this school versus being like outplaced.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But like, is it like what? And I know that you can't get into like specifics, but like I wasn't sure, is there any like simple things, like is it staff, is it space, is it OT, PT,
Yeah.
like what are we lacking that is creating most of these like outplacements?
Right.
And I know that it's a spectrum of services that are likely needed.
Right.
I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to
Yeah,
ask.
yep, I do. So, thinking about the places that we're accessing right now for our students. American School for the Deaf, they have very specialized programming, which would be very hard to duplicate here.
Okay.
The cochlear implants, there's a lot of different things, plus students, need to be with their peers. So that's something that we really couldn't replicate here in district. Looking at clinical day treatment for students who are requiring significant behavioral support. That's something that, we can't duplicate here, to a certain level. Looking at placements where they're focusing on applied behavioral, services for students with high-level autism who are not accessing curriculum like we typically see in our setting. They are using augmentative devices because they are nonverbal. So those are things that you really can't provide in our type of setting. So we're looking at settings, they're providing very extensive services. We have been very lucky. We, in our elementary school, we have a case manager who is managing a small group of students who are requiring a higher level of need. These are students, if we didn't have this service, they would most likely be outplaced. So we have been able to keep several students in district because we have a case manager with a smaller group of students. That's something that I'm looking to be able to replicate at the middle school within the next couple of years because these students will be transitioning up. So, we've kept several students in district. But when it gets to that point where we just can't, because the services that we have here would need to be very extensive. And then we look to outplacement. So I hope that answers that.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, why a couple of years? Just because the students are moving up, or you don't think there's a need yet at the middle school?
Just looking at their ages, what grades they're in.
Right, okay.
So the next couple of years, they'll be transitioning up
Mhm.
to,
I didn't know if there were
Grade.
students currently at Hall that could utilize the service.
no,
Okay.
not currently.
Okay.
We're able to meet the students' needs at Hall currently.
I have a question about the school choice. How many children are involved in that?
So this is only special education related,
Okay,
so. I wanna say that's one right now,
Well, 3 with
for that total cost.
3 with IEPs.
is that
Uh,
bringing
well,
someone in?
Let me correct myself, next year, 2 with IEPs.
So that's bringing someone in to, or sending them out,
So that's school choice, so those are students who are going to magnet school,
okay.
who are requiring IEP services. We are required to fund those IEP services.
And
per
she
the-
can't say whether the reason. What's happening next?
No, of course not, yeah, of course not, yeah, okay.
So. Follow up on that though. So this line item is for IEPs of students who are in magnet school. Are there other line items, say, for transportation, or are we not responsible for transportation of magnet school?
Nope,
Okay, so this is just for IEP.
correct.
Okay.
So the school counseling is zero there, we keep it in there just to show you that there is. Obviously, we have a mental health staff, right, that supports special education and general education. It's not on here as a staffing additional item, but it's something that we wanna make sure it's clear that we have it. There are obviously dollars tied to it, it's not in her program per se, it becomes, it really falls into 2. Right, so the school counselor is not in her program, the social worker is not in her program, the mental health specialist is not in her program. The school psych is in her program. That is the only mental health professional that's connected. However, those other individuals may be helping with students with special education needs. Does that make sense? The paraprofessional, the new dash there is because we had a paraprofessional that we had from EastCon. We are no longer using that. And so that's a decrease in the paraprofessional. The
That
behavior,
person go on to the staff is now,
they became long term they did, short term they didn't, long term they did.
okay.
That position did.
Yes,
So we no longer contract with these.
not for paraprofessionals.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah. The behavior consultant is flat from last year. Marcia and I have had a conversation with a neighboring district. We are looking at trying to come up with a creative way to use the same number of dollars and get more services. So we do contract out through EastCon for a BCBA. It's typically for students with autism, but not only students with autism. It is a requirement to use a BCBA. If you ever are going to go out, you have to use that service prior to going out. We are finding that for what we're getting, for what we're paying EastCon, and they have overhead costs, right? That we think we can get more. And so what we're looking at with a neighboring district is to use those funds, and this is kind of in the works and really fresh, is to blend our monies together to hire our own. And we believe we could more than double the amount of time we're going to get for the same dollar amount.
Can you remind me what a BCBA is?
A board certified behavior analysis.
And they
provide support.
It's.
Yep, that's
I mean, not
just.
you, but like,
Yeah.
that's what you do.
Jen probably explained it even better than I can. They provide support around behavior and multitude of other things, but Jen, you could probably piggyback on that more than I can, but.
Well, I mean, every district I've worked in, which has been a lot, they've had a different job description for the behavior analyst, but. A lot of work with the kiddos with autism, but also supporting the teachers with kids who have behavioral challenges within the classrooms. Training, professional development, things like that.
Training paras, writing functional behavior, FBAs, writing behavior intervention plans.
So we're basically
Attendance
getting,
at meetings.
we're basically getting a day a week.
I was gonna ask you how many hours you're
We
gonna.
think we could go to 2 or 3 if we shared, so, 1 week we would get 3, the other district would get 2, and then the next week they'd get 3, we get 2. With it using an alternating day. It's really a rough plan at this point in time. We still have our contract with EastCon, we will maintain those services to make sure we have it. But we are in the works of trying to figure out. I have notes all over my desk about this, trying to figure out what can we do. The thought process is to develop a joint contract that is the same contract, not one for the other town and one for us, but one contract. It would allow us to hire the person collaboratively. State loves these regional approaches. It would allow us to get the same person, and we'd figure out the benefits portion of it. We may. If there's seed money next year, this could also help offset that. Or make sure we have a competitive salary, because this, again, everybody wants a BCBA, it's a shortage area, like. I wanna work there, and it's, it's hard, so it's in the works, I will kind of keep you posted on that, but that's the thought process at this point in time. Yeah.
Question, I don't know if we got there yet, but is there any potential for sharing special transportation costs with neighboring towns, of like if somebody needs a van ride or whatever?
We
We're gonna
do.
do that.
Yeah, yep. Anytime looking for specialized transportation, I'll reach out to the area directors to say, hey, do you have any students going here or there? And we cost share. It's surprisingly not as much of a savings as you would think.
Yeah.
Depends on the vendor.
Does.
I think Marcia does a little dance when she gets to put a 0 next to a student that with their shared services. And there's no additional cost. It's hard.
I have another question. We talked I remember in the corner of my mind talking about outplacements having to rein in their prices. Is that a thing? Or am I just?
Hey, they're getting pressed. We're gonna get to that conversation very quickly here in a minute.
Okay.
More to come. The Wealth is it was the after-school program. We're continuing it kind of as an after-school program, but also flexibly. So if there's tutoring, there's the same amount of money we dropped it down last year, that's still there. The summer school program, you see the big increase, and that's really, that was intentional to be able to get more teachers interested in working the summer school program. More experienced teachers, because the way the contract was written, they were getting a significantly lower rate. The new contract allows them to get their actual per diem. This is her cost this summer, under that new contract. So, and servicing how many kids, Marcia, typically?
25. I haven't looked at it in a little while, but around 25, district-wide, yeah.
The evaluations are flat, and that's, if we have to pay for our neuropsych report out of district, something like that. Any other evaluations that you chime in on?
Neuropsych, psychiatric evaluation, that's really about it under that line.
Minimal increase in transportation in the grand scheme of adding a student, but that's not bad. And then
Share cost there.
shared costs, yeah, and then Horizons is down. You want to speak to Horizons?
Horizons is an agency that we use for students that we want support when we're trying to match them up with Department of Social Services, DSS. So Steve Sneidemeyer is the gentleman who comes in. He's been around for a long time and has a wealth of knowledge for students typically with intellectual disability or who are going to require a long-term care. So he helps the team, making sure that we are developing appropriate curriculum for them. He helps with connecting the family with outside agencies, brings the team together, typically monthly, but depending on the student's IEP, to do, it's called a core group meeting where we all come together, talk about the students' functioning, making sure that we're not missing anything, bringing the family in. So it's a kind of a comprehensive approach to supporting those students. And the cost is very effective, I think, for what we get.
Yeah. Mark has got an additional $1,000 in there for supplies. It's just ongoing increase in costs is a cost that she has. The other items that are there, minor changes in the grand scheme of things. Conferences travel slightly down. The other items are flat. And I always leave on the equipment for CES and HMS. We are lucky to have an OT and PT who are able to access equipment from other districts. We share very well. Special education equipment is very expensive. And the fact that we have those resources across shared, the districts, it helps us greatly. And when we're done with something and somebody else needs it, they use it and vice versa. All right, so here comes the bad news. Marcia, I just said that the people were walking in tonight. I spent more time with Marcia over the last several days than I have with my own wife. And we have discovered an issue, and this came out on Friday with my meeting with State Department of Education around the SEED grant and excess cost grant in special education. So I'm gonna flip-flop to the handout that you have in front of you. And the top of that handout has the excess cost example. If you remember how excess cost works, basically what happens is you're required to pay for, so a student is outplaced, you're required to pay for 4.5 times the per pupil expenditure. And after that dollar amount, those dollars are then eligible for excess cost reimbursement, okay? So basically, just to show you the math, is if your per pupil cost is $27,000 and you multiply that times 4.5, you're responsible for the first $121,563 for that student. Okay, everything after that, that's tied to services, and this is a combination of transportation and placement, okay? Is then eligible for excess cost reimbursement, okay? And so going through the example, you can see if we had a student that was $210,000 total cost, transportation and tuition, you take out, subtract the 121, there's 88,000 eligible for reimbursement. We've typically been getting around 70%. So they're gonna pay that 61,000 and the rest of it is us. Which is that 26,000. So then you add that 26,000 to the 121,000 for a total for that student of $148,094. You wanna know why your per pupil is going up? This is one of the main reasons. It is special education costs across the state for every district are astronomical. They're not going down. Placement costs are going up. It is really, really challenging for districts. So why does that matter now? As part of the bad news. So the new information on the bottom of that is what I learned on Friday. The state sets a budget amount each year, right? And so with that, within that budget amount, currently, it is less than districts are requesting for excess cost. You are supposed to get a higher percentage and you're not getting it, right? So, but they have to stay within their appropriation. We're expected to get 91%. That's where we're at based upon our poverty level and our Anglic ranking. We're supposed to get 91% reimbursement. This year, 25-26, we're getting 72%. And they capped it. So we have an offset in the current year's budget of $409,000. We just found out we're only getting $362,000. Thus, a bigger hole in special education for the current year. So that's a shortfall of $47,000, the current fiscal year. All right. We had an increase in per pupil costs. That adds to, you spend more money before you're eligible for excess costs. So again, currently, I sent out the email yesterday, I think it was, we've been at this. I have frozen the 25-26 budget. Because we are in the hole and I'm trying to figure out how to dig out. I don't want to have the same issue in 26-27. And talking to Donna, talking to Marcia, going through with her assistant. We have an offset in the budget I sent you last week of $425,000, $425,945. We have always done the full amount of what we thought we were gonna get back. And it has almost always held true. Now with our 7 outplacements though, and increased costs in the state, they're capping what we're getting. So again, we expected 9 and we're getting a different number. Because of that, we are not comfortable asking or putting as an offset in the budget as written at 425. It's not responsible. It's not reality. This is where you need to weigh in on this. We believe we're getting this year $361,920. All right. We believe that's the number that we should be using to match as an offset for next year. Now, here's all the scenarios. Okay. If the state increases their budget and everybody in the state, their special education needs are relatively the same, we're going to get a higher reimbursement rate. But the state would have to raise their budget quite a bit. I'm not convinced that's going to happen. B, the state budget stays flat and the needs stay the same. And then again, next year, we're maxed out at the 361. We don't get our 91%. This is where Arthur says we should sue the state, and I'm starting to believe he's not wrong about that.
I was just thinking that.
And they have this in legislation that legally they have to stay within their budget, and I wanted to say, well, so do we.
Yeah.
Item C, state stays flat. The district needs an increase. we're gonna get a lower reimbursement rate. It's gonna be lower than 361. And then the scenario D, the state budget decreases. The needs stay the same, and again, we get a lower reimbursement rate. I could throw a bunch of scenarios more in there, but I left it to 4. We have spent like lots of hours together going through the numbers and what's the right number, talking to Donna. This is where we're proposing, and I'll be really honest, we're not super confident about it. We're still a little nervous that it's too high. So the yellow is the initial, that was what I gave you, that's on your budget packet. And this is like the timing of those multiple outplacements that came in last year in the middle of budget season. We're proposing, since your last meeting, that we add $64,000 to the budget. That $64,000 is the difference between what the state, what we should be getting, what we put in the offset, the 425, and what we think we're gonna get at that 361. If the situation gets worse and it's below that 361, you're starting in the hole. What does that do to the budget? So the proposal literally goes from 10,600 to 10,697. The increase is $682,000, and it goes to a 681.
Is there special ed legislation proposed this year?
They're always talking about it.
But it would still be too late. If
I
we would
don't-
miss this
We
year.
don't know it at this point in time. They kicked in that extra 30 million last year, which is the seed money, and we got 40,000. But the money we're talking about is hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not, literally, we should be getting 91% of our excess cost, everything over our per pupil. And we're not getting it. And this is a prime example of where it's been capped. It makes it even worse.
I don't see the budget going up state level this year being an election year. He's gonna wanna keep it the same so he can try and get reelection. And so putting in that money, I think, is a smart move on our part.
And I don't see the cost of special education decreasing.
No.
So flat budget, increased costs. You're getting less next year. That's what we're afraid of. We weren't real happy about having to come in and go, hey, we're gonna increase the budget by $64,000. And meanwhile, we're saying we hope that's enough.
So, to kind of touch on what you said about, and Arthur about suing, obviously, that's not something that will help us this year. But we talk about this problem every year, and there's not solutions, but it continues to be this huge problem.
There is a solution. Marcia has it, but it's gonna cost you $400,000. And the solution is, don't put your whole excess cost offset in your budget. So when it comes in, you're gonna have some extra money, and you then overtax and you return some, because you feel that you're not lapsing, and then you return the rest of the town. When we put it in as a full offset, we run the risk of exactly where we're at right now. That is the solution, and I don't like it, but this is why people say, I'm gonna have a 1 or 2 outplacement placeholders in my budget for this reason. So then they have extra money when someone moves in, and when they get less excess cost, it doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, we don't have that, sorry.
No,
And that idea is not something that we can do now, but over time, as our students age out of Willington. If our numbers decrease, that's something we need to consider, is not putting the excess cost as an offset in the budget and use it as a buffer. So like Bill was saying, some districts will put 100,000 in, in their budget as a buffer if they have an outplacement. We then would use our excess cost as that buffer. But that's something that we have to do over time.
I've emailed Tammy Nucci about, some creative solutions. I think that it makes sense for and every district in Willington, I'm sorry, every district in the state. If you budget for a student and then they move, that money should follow that student for the remainder of the year. No one would be in the hole, right? So if someone moved, and I'm totally making this up, a student moved from Cheshire to Willington in October. They're outplaced. We now have to pay the bill, but we didn't budget for it. Cheshire did budget for it. They could pay the bill and then we would take it over July 1. To me, no one gets hurt in that. You don't get, it's part of the excess cost problem, but it helps because a district doesn't get crushed, especially small districts that don't have as big a budget, when someone moves in. The concept, and here's the good news, there is good news on the other side of this, is that long term, and this is where, how we would achieve Marcia's thought process, is that in the 27-28 budget, after next year, if things stay the same for what we know today, I'm always gonna say that caveat, we see a $350,000 savings in special ed. Because students will move on, right? And so because of that, that's where you would obviously see less money coming in. We would do less of an offset in the excess cost. And you could consider maybe, and this is what the game people play, is if you expected 400, maybe you say, I'm gonna bank on 200. Right? It gives you a buffer. And I never have liked budgeting like that. But it might be how we have to solve this problem with the cap, because we're trying to dig out of it right now. Does it make sense?
Where is the offset in our budget? I don't see it.
So if you go back, good question, Ann. So I'll tie it back to the budget document now. So if you look at this document right here, this is at the end of program 3, right? So you see the total expenditure, and the first item is $425,000 is an excess
Oh,
cost
that's it.
grant offset. We put what we should be getting. And to be honest with you, that's at 70%. That's at 70%. We already have a buffer built in for us where we should be getting 91. We've never seen 91, so we don't bank on 91. We've been getting around 70. That's what that is. But because of the cap,
Because
we
of the
believe
number of
it-
students,
huh?
because of the number of students.
It's what we have for outplacement, but because of the cap, because of the state budget, they only budget so much money, everybody gets decreased some proportionally. So we're only gonna get on the same amount. If we get 360 again, we're gonna be $65,000 in the hole start next year. That doesn't make sense. So we would reduce that number there by the 64,000 that's in that other document, which then increases the budget total to, the 2,910, 2,910,000. The IDEA stays the same, the preschool certified stays the same, classified stays the same, the purchase service stays the same, the non-lapsing stays at 100,000. Here's the other piece that you could consider, okay? You know that we were talking about non-lapsing, last budget meeting and regular meeting. I said there's about 130,000 in there. Some of that money, I'm already looking at recovery for this year, okay? This is after that 100,000 is applied. So that's all set. There's 130 in there now. That is gonna potentially help dig us out of the hole this year. You could also consider applying more to next year's budget. And the reason why you could do that is because the students that would be moving on, it won't hurt you the following year. All it will do is the $350,000 savings will be a little bit less. That makes sense.
Yeah, but we don't know if new students are gonna come in to replace the
You're
ones
right.
that you're banking on moving on, so.
You don't know if that's gonna happen now, though, either. You don't know if it's gonna happen next month.
Yep.
Right, so.
I would say just decrease that 425 down to the 364.
I have a question on your second bullet here. Our expected 91% reimbursement, $452,891, which is 72.72. You and I both know we've never gotten that 91% anytime in recent memory. Why would we budget that and not budget the 70 around the 70 that?
That is the 70.
420, not
Did I
according,
reverse that?
not according to this budget, it's not, 91% is 452, 891, and it's 425, 945 there.
That's for,
That's only 30,000.
this is 25, 26.
No, I know, why would we budget that even in 25, 26? Like, why would,
We didn't, we
Yeah.
budgeted the 409, and this is what we've also been meeting about, is because as services change. And then if your pupil goes up, it impacts what you're getting. So
Right.
we planned on 409 and we're getting 361.
but you plan on 409 based on what percentage? That's the part I'm driving at.
It's, the percentage is, it was 70% is what we believe.
And still at 409 at 70%.
And the reason why is when the per pupil goes up and you pay more
Yeah.
first, that's the killer.
Mark, are you looking at bullet point 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, bullet point 2 does say 91% is 452.
That's for current year. If
And
current
that's what we
year,
budgeted.
we planned for 409. If we were gonna get 91%, we would get 450. That's straight that's straight off of the CSD's document.
Yeah.
Right, but 20% of 452 is 90,000. So,
The 425 isn't adding up.
right, that's, I'm not, these numbers aren't adding up for me. That's what I'm confused about.
Help us.
Yeah.
Which, I'm not sure which one you're looking at.
So. I'm looking at bullet point 2 for this budget year that we're in, right?
Yep,
You're saying. We budgeted for expected reimbursement, the 91% is 452, we budgeted for 405, which is what percentage? That's the part that's the part that's missing from this bullet. This is your ideal, actually, it should be 100, but ideally at 91, it's
Yep.
452. We budgeted for 405.
it's because of the cap.
No, what's that percentage? What percentage did you use to determine 405? That's what.
409 is 70.
70%.
So then how is 72.72 361?
Because they drop the number or the number increases. So as the per pupil, the cost, what we put in October is if that number changes,
Right,
it changes this number. The percentage.
so that number
So they
is not,
drop us, it's, my opinion, it's 54%. That's what we were
that
talking
would
about
make more
today.
sense, but. So you're telling me that number is not a static number, it's gonna go increase and decrease as the year goes on in your budget?
So they do an adjustment. And the adjustment is supposed to help us. But because they have a cap on their budget, it doesn't help us. We're not getting more money because of the 7th outplacement, we're not getting. What we put in October is what we know at that time for the number of outplacements we have, and if what we budgeted, there may be a change in costs. Up or down,
October, because that's when we report our.
that's when we have to
enrollment.
put the submission in.
Did we budget 7 last year, or did we budget 6 last year?
6,
Okay, that's starting to clear things up a little
Yeah.
bit.
it's the 6, and the 6 were, this is why we spend all sorts of time trying to match up 25, 26. And what you budget is different than what you have to put in your application, because it's off of your invoices, right, of what you're actually getting billed. And then the cap hurt us. And then we're also looking at the change in the per pupil. We're planning this budget next year, and what we're getting off right now of the 4.5 times being $123,000. That would be the number we're using as what is 4.5 times.
It. I don't even know what to say, like. I think that, I think of CABE, I think of the superintendents in Connecticut. Like, what groups could do something different than we're doing now to affect some kind of change? Because if our job is anything, it's this, it's talking about this stuff, it's trying to figure out how to make this budget work for this town, and this does not work for this town. This like, amorphous kind of like not knowing and the state being able to just do what they do.
What they want.
They're getting. Let me say this very clearly, CSDE knows this is a problem. They speak volume, they're very loud about this, superintendent's group, CABE, it's CAPS, it's everybody. This comes down to legislation and dollars. It's what you put in the budget. And no one wants to face the issue of it's a lot of money. And that's why they tried to kick in extra dollars last year. So what I just shared with Arthur, see the 91%, see the full is it 497, 497,000? That's 100%, 91% of that number is the 452.
When you say cap, what are they capping? Are they capping an amount or are they capping a percentage? Is the 361 an amount based on your?
They reduced us all proportionally. And they did it based upon, so there's 3 tiers.
Yeah.
And we're we'll call the poorest tier, so we get the highest at 72. And so others are down, I think they're in the 60s at this point in time in the other tier.
But is that based on the amount they're receiving, or is that based on that, is the 72 the person, like, this is your percentage cap, then this is the percentage cap, and this is the percentage cap, or is it a dollar cap? This is your dollar cap.
They had to figure it out, and this is what they've done each year, is they've done it based upon what their budget is and what they can afford, and they apply the tiers, and then they figure out what your percentage is from there.
So it's a dollar cap then.
Yeah, if they have 30 million, they've got 30 million.
Right.
We've been actually trying to get the breakdown so we can understand it a little bit
The
better.
state
And
doesn't do it.
we haven't, we're not getting it. Because we're grappling exactly where you are. We've been doing this all week, trying to figure out exactly how the breakdown goes, and we're struggling to find that out.
Okay, so a lot of this doesn't make a whole lot of math sense.
Yes.
We tried to find the same document, that document for a prior year, we can't find it.
Okay.
So we're asking, like, where is this document, same thing? Because then we can at least compare it. What I think has happened, and I think Donna agrees with me, is in prior years. If you were close on the per pupil when you set the number you had for your offset, maybe we planned for getting, in the prior year, we had planned on getting maybe 375,000, but we got 360. And you had money in your insurance, you just covered it. It was not an issue. This year, it's a major issue, one, because of the additional outplacement, the per pupil's higher, and they're giving you less. It's like notch. Does the math work out for you now, John? Do you understand?
Yeah, I'm
91%?
understanding more, thank you. This helped me a lot.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to go some way, like towards some kind of a savings type thing. In the past, this is the third. I'm trying to go back. So last budget season, we budgeted for 6, now we ended up with 7 when we actually get to the time. Season before that, we had 2 outplacements. During our budget process, we had to increase our budget requests because 3 or 4 more came in as we were after we'd already presented to the Board of Finance. And then we go to the town and we ask for more money. And we didn't have to freeze the budget last year, did we? It was the
No.
prior year. The prior year, we had to freeze the budget at the same time of year in February. And then we go to town meetings and Board of Finance meetings, and we're trying to defend the fact that our budget is going up in ways that we cannot have any control over because they are unfunded mandates and the state is not giving us what they promise. They're giving us less, and now they're giving us even more less. So first, I have a plea for anybody in this room who is listening and understanding this or listening on recording. When it comes to the time we are at town meeting or we are at Board of Finance deciding how much money can be allocated to education, please share this information so everybody understands. We're not just throwing in a whole bunch of wants that we have for our schools. And we don't want to throw everything on special education, but we're being forced to do that. And then when we have public people come to meetings and say, your per pupil expenditure is this amount per the 300 and so many kids we have in our building, but a majority of that cost is being put towards this special education. That's not fair. That's not fair to our students. That's not fair to our staff. That's not fair to this board, our administrators. It's not fair to our town. We need to be honest, and we are trying to be transparent here about where these costs are going and why over the past 3 years, our budget keeps getting higher for less. And don't put it on test scores, because I didn't even want to go there right now, because test scores are not a part of this equation. The money is going to be spent on what we have to pay for. The state's requiring us to pay for it and then saying, oops, sorry, we don't have enough money. You guys still have to pay for it somehow, even though we promised it to you at the beginning of the year. All that needs to be in the equation when anybody is speaking about the budget in this town.
That's why we need to change to 425.
And when money does come back, if someone goes out of an house placement, we should not be blamed for using that money, because our budget is frozen right now in January. We are barely halfway through the school year. And some expenses that we might have said, we don't need them yet, so let's not pay for that yet, are not on the table anymore. They're cut off. All of our students don't have access to that anymore. And it makes me upset that we have to freeze the budget at this point. I would rather go to Board of Finance right now and say, we need more money that we asked for last April, May, and we're told we didn't need it. We needed to cut it 3 times before we could get a budget that passed. And look where we are now. We were being realistic about what we needed. We have even more costs than we expected, because now we have 7 outplays instead of 6. All of that needs to be understood at budget season by those people who are making this vote, which is the entire population of Willington. So somehow we have to get that message out so that we're not here again next year after having to go to vote for a budget 3 times because it seems unreasonable, except this is what we have to do. We have to figure out a way to fix this. And things keep getting more expensive. The costs to run our buildings, the costs for transportation, the cost for insurance across our whole town.
This might be a letter from the board, just to your state rep, just so they can have some real life impact and speak to Willington and what we're experiencing and what we have experienced. This might be something that you could do as a joint board to sign off and send, because I think the message has to be at the legislature. They have to be the ones. They're the ones making those decisions, and the monies. We're the end game.
I also think in that letter, we should mention that the seed money they gave us was not logical. If we weren't able to use it, am I incorrect? Well,
We can,
remember we
but
talked
not, I
about
mean,
that.
we could,
There
it would be
were-
nice to apply to the outplacement we have right now, and we can't.
Exactly, but we weren't allowed to do that.
Doesn't-
There were
doesn't
some
do it.
limits into how we were allowed to
It was very-
spend that
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
which did not help us pay the bills we had to pay.
Same
So-
for Susan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, with you mentioning a board letter to legislation, I mean, it would be nice if you could reach out if you haven't already, but squeaky wheel gets the grease with anything. So if you have contact with other superintendents, which I'm sure you do, I think if we get the most amount of districts to be like, hey, Tammy, hey, Jeff, hey, whoever, this has been an ongoing issue and it's frustrating, and I think Jen was trying to say this before, and forgive me if I'm putting words in your mouth, what it's like. And you know, John and I were just kind of saying to each other too, that it's like, I don't like the idea of, oh, well, we have to, you know, steal from Peter to pay Paul and we have to move things around in our budget. Like, it just seems like inexcusable to be like, oh, well, our hands are tied, the state's this, it's just how it is, the state isn't. Like, if we get enough people, and maybe this is me being, you know, idealistic perhaps, but it's like, if we get enough districts to fight for this and be like, listen, like, we can't keep doing this. Not, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, get as many people involved as possible to like bombard them with letters, bombard them with emails. Like, we're not the only ones who are facing this problem.
She's on
You know
board
what I
with it.
mean? And
They're
it's like,
facing
oh, well,
some
they're doing it, there's this, there's that, the state, I see what the state spends a lot of their money, and it's dumb. So they have money to spend, what, you know what I mean? You gotta fight for it, but nobody can argue that special education's needed. And not only that, and I don't know if this is a dumb idea, because I understand that you never know who's moving in, who's moving out, but is there any way to like statistically track on a national level? And even like following birth to three, like how many kids are expected to come in that are gonna need special ed? Like, is there been, and I think I asked this a while ago,
Higher
like,
trend.
right now we have what, like 25% of our student population needs an IEP or whatever that statistic was, like, I'd imagine that statistic has been growing over the past decades, you know what I mean? Like, it probably went from like 10 to 15 to 20 to 25 slowly over time
Yeah.
for a variety of
Yep.
reasons that I won't get into right now, and I don't need to, but like, you know what I'm trying to say with like tracking, like, okay, we did 6 based on what we had in the past, but if we're looking at all this data, like birth to 3, nationwide, hey, it seems like more kids are getting diagnosed with these different things that need, like, we really need to increase it by 2 based on whatever, you know what I'm trying to say, just to kind of have like a data point, because people like data, it's like, well, look at this, like, I don't know. And I know it's always a fight anyways, but if we have something to back it up to be like, well, you know, some of those kids may not be in preschool, but, and I don't even know how you get that information, but it's just something I was,
Is that what the
Thinking
State
about.
Department of Education used to do? Something like that.
I think there's data out there, it's just.
Or not.
Yeah.
or they
Mighty
never-
dollar.
I mean, this is a very hot topic.
is.
In many groups, my case, the special ed directors group, this is always a conversation. It's a conversation in the legislature, it's a hot topic right now, we just haven't seen any movement, any progress.
Well, that's the thing. Every year we say this is not sustainable, and yet here we are on another year saying the very same thing, but then trying to figure out how to pay for it. Like, it's. I don't even just think it's, I think if Willington did a joint letter of all the boards, because it doesn't just affect us, it affects Board of Finance, who, you know, allocates funds for the town, it affects Board of Selectmen. It's a town-wide problem, not just an education problem. And it's the same for all of these towns in Connecticut, that are struggling with this, and I think, I'm so upset about this, like, I absolutely urgently don't wanna be here next year having this very conversation without having something tangible to do about it. And I'm thinking, we have, as a board, been very, okay with funding things from our own budget. Trying to figure out, like, I think Sam said, robbing Peter to pay Paul or whatever, I think that we need to be more, okay with talking to the Board of Finance when things unexpectedly happen to our budget.
Yep.
I'm all about self-help, but I also think that part of our undoing, maybe not telling people what's happening in the moment that it's happening. And, I don't know, I'm gonna write 10 letters when I get home. I'm so frustrated by this situation.
You'll learn more about the 25, 26. We'll have the layout for you at your regular meeting in February. But for this purpose, I only did the snapshot. I didn't update this the specific program. You just have to tell me, is the 64 enough? Are you comfortable with going in flat with where we were capped this year? Are you okay with that? If it's a lower amount, then it increases your budget that much more.
I think that's a realistic, approach.
The,
If we're doing the math and thinking that we'll get the 70%, which,
the 64 in, is that what you're saying?
or 64, whatever, yeah. And if we're taking that difference, you know, putting it in the budget, so it's still accounted for, but more realistic. Based on what we know now, which is what we did last year and year before.
People okay, everybody else okay with the capped amount, and I'll just update the documents?
Putting the 47, taking the 47 out of
It's 64,000
64,000.
that I have to take out of yeah, take out of the. It's 64 off of this, so off the 425,
Yeah,
and that's what that brings it down to, that 361,
it's the real number.
Huh?
It's the real number. It's what the state's gonna give us. We wanna make.
We're capped on it this year. I don't know why we would be capped next year.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like to see that document and the total increase in percentage for the entire budget. If we had 0% reimbursement and we were responsible for all of it. And I would like to see it at what we're supposed to get, which is the 91, 92. And what it looks like if we get 70, which is about what we have been receiving over the last few years. Because that's a pretty real chart to put next to each other to help people understand the magnitude of the situation.
This is what it is right here, I think is what you're talking about, that's the full cost of tuition, and that's the full cost of transportation. Add those together, that's your outplacement number. And then it's whatever percentage you're gonna figure out to get back. This is how per pupil impacts, so we talk about, going to a pre-K through 8th grade building. Lowering your per pupil cost matters, because when it's 4.5 times to get to your final excess cost. Districts that are ours is 27, districts that have a per pupil of 20,000. They're spending $28,000 less before they get excess cost. It's broken.
How often do we have multiple transportations at the same time? Does that make sense, that question?
Every day,
Every day, everybody has to like,
because they're,
3-4 different locations,
Yeah,
but are they on the same bus or are they?
yeah, cause they're going to different locations, they have to be there at the same time. Unless they're going to the same location.
Renting advantage, so.
That's right where my brain was.
I did before.
$400,000 to buy a lot of minivans.
Okay, so what are we deciding there? They're adding.
so I'm gonna make a suggestion, because you have a CIP chasing you down, and you could always kick them upstairs if you want. I'm well, I think you should tell CIP next meeting. For your budget workshop next week, that they should plan to be upstairs. I've already shared a document with them for. If you want to talk about where we go. I have some ideas. But it's people. It's people. So when you're at a 681, I can update these other things. The only thing that's not people is you caught her $20,000 in Chromebooks, cried for a little bit, but then we.
I
Not
wouldn't
really,
cry that much.
right, but we're not gonna find. Huge money in this budget without getting the people. You can't change special ed costs.
So one of the things that I personally feel is this budget should represent what we need as a district. We should get feedback when we present this budget, after we've all agreed on it, to not pre-cut. Like
I agree.
So this is what Willington Public Schools needs to operate, for the upcoming budget year. Yes.
That is exactly what's in front of you. It's the way
Right.
I have always.
Don't wanna even
I
have that
believe that.
conversation,
Always
Phil,
done.
like at this point. to kind of extrapolate about what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Because this is what needs to happen. And
Bare minimum, basically.
right, and for. Again, every year, people see the percentage number and lose all ability to hear and reason.
Goes off of, yeah.
So I think. Going through this line by line as we've done and having this extensive conversation and. Fingers crossed, we can get ourselves together to get letters out and have. Our. Whatever, Channel 3 should come here, some whatever, I don't know, some radio station sold.
This is on the website, right?
Yes, my point, Jen, is not to present a bunch of cuts to you. My point is, if you have questions throughout where you're like, okay, do you really need that? We can justify it. But people don't know unless you ask those questions. So because you've been in your seats for a while, and you've lived the budget season before with me, this document always looks the same. It's real easy for us to breeze through some things. It doesn't show the work that goes behind the scenes of what we've done to get here. But all we can do is ask, like, I mean.
I would say though, I mean, I'm not trying to be argumentative, but a lot of times. The folks who have the most problem with this budget are people who have engaged with us every year about this budget. So they have almost as much knowledge, if not more, about this budget than I do. So it's being able to have a rational, reasonable conversation about what is in here and what schools need to function appropriately. And not on one hand, arguing about test scores, and on the other hand, saying we should cut all the staff that we have. Like, it does not make any sense. So again, having these conversations and being able to be in this forum and have a back and forth, I think is really important. And presenting a budget that is completely and totally needs-based. Saying that repeatedly is awesome.
That needs change as the years go on, as different populations are in our building. Can you remind us, Phil, how much, I'm sorry, how much a percentage point is
It's
equal
a
to a dollar?
little over.
$100,000 for 1%.
Got $10 million budgets, yeah.
And one outplacement is,
$250,000.
Yeah. So you had said something before about, right, we're 27,000 per pupil right now. Did you say something about if we were all in one building, what would it be then? Were you
We
saying?
haven't worked that out, but that's where the duplication of staff disappears.
Okay,
And when you have duplication of staff, because you have two buildings,
it
It's
should
higher.
come down.
but if you go to one building and you don't have duplication of staff, it comes down.
Theoretically, okay.
That's 27,000 per pupil. With these 7 individuals in there. Right.
Correct.
What is that number?
So,
I know it's.
no, it's
playing with
27,000,
numbers.
but so if you, that's significant. If you cut that from 7 to 3, guess what? We're talking about, and I hate doing this. I don't wanna blame a budget on students that have specific services because they need the services,
But
right?
it's not the students mandating it.
It is the reality is the cost of 7 students is $1.5 million. That's what we're talking about.
So if you.
That's not what we actually pay,
Out, and that
but
one
that's the cost.
point, whatever million,
Yep,
our actual per pupil for everybody else is way less than 28.
that's the number I wanna know.
Mhm.
Have you ever worked out those numbers?
I have not.
Come on.
The state's,
8.5 to 100 or 300 that's 70, right?
the state's formula for that is not as clean as you think either.
You get a rough number.
Yeah, you can get a rough number for it.
We can't alter our agenda, right, because of the special meeting?
No, you can't alter your agenda. Are you just telling
yes,
them?
we still have one
Ask them to go upstairs.
program.
Oh, they have a 7 o'clock in here?
You know, but,
Oh, yeah.
So did you go over the thing that I? sent you at the
we
beginning?
did, that's why I'm saying, like, it might make sense for us to get through this tonight.
Okay,
And then for us to bring all of like the points that you had. To have a longer discussion around the variety of things next week.
Okay.
Cause then we'll be through all the programs. And you can pinpoint certain things you want more information or to have conversations about. I did share your 4 points.
okay.
Same, those 4 points, we're phasing out Chromebooks, oil tank inspections, which is good because we have somebody that did the certification. More money for maintenance, we have the drip funds and then the World Bank we talked about. All right, you okay go upstairs?
We're gonna sit.
All right, sweet, thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
Think I
You have to do it, Dan.
upstairs. That's
There you go.
short.
Holdner.
Okay, can I go to 5? Are you good with that?
Yes.
Again, if you have questions about anything with the special education items, let me know in advance so I can share with Marcia. And I see it, Brianna has it printed out over there, or Arthur has it printed out. I also sent the thing today, email, they just sent the excess cost presentation they did for us on Friday. I forwarded that to you as well, so you can see that. Okay, health services, a much more straightforward program. We have 2 buildings, we have 2 nurses. Contractual rates are there based upon their experience and their contract. They have a little bit of conference money. We have to pay for a medical advisor, it is required. So we pay, and actually that rate has been the same since I've been superintendent. I appreciate that position, doctor not increasing their rates. They're required because they sign off on any medical orders that we have, and we're required to have that. We increased the, yeah,
Sorry.
no, go for it.
Random question I know we have 2 buildings, 2 nurses, but is there a amount of, like, is there like one nurse is allowed to have 300 kids that they can take care of? You know what I'm trying to say, or is that?
That's
unlimited?
basically, you're by building, basically, once you get into a larger building, that's where you start to increase. If you're talking about, I think I had 800 kids, 250, I had 750 kids in total, and I had 2 full-time nurses. In
Yeah,
one
'cause
building.
my question is,
There's not a number.
like an overlapping of potential staff, like if we were to move to one building, would we still need 2 nurses anyways? Or is that not to say anything, but
It
just
would
to
be
have
one of my
numbers?
items that we would have a conversation about for sure.
You know what I mean? If we went from like 200 to 500 kids, like, do you still need 2 nurses anyways? Just wondering, or it doesn't?
The question is, if you went to one building and you had 380 kids, how are you gonna be okay with one nurse and there's.
What's the number?
There's not a number,
Okay.
You are.
because you're living it, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you can do it.
I was wondering about
Yeah.
A little scary during the flu season, but.
Yep, but it's
Staff
doable,
works as a team.
correct? So some nurses I increased, because of actual, we have the audiometer, it's been inspection, that's pretty straightforward. So you see the general, increase in purchase services. And then obviously medical supplies, we've kept it flat, we've done well. They bargain shop, which I appreciate, and then we have their membership on here, so there's a slight increase to that program. The majority of which is their salary, which is kind of contractual. We have 2 very, very experienced nurses, and that matters. It's very, very helpful.
Been in the district a long time, so.
They have been in the district for a long time.
People might wanna know how often we're using these substitute nurses.
So if you think about your subs are around 240 or 250 a day.
Divided by 6,000.
No, yeah, like how many times is that required during an average school year, is a question someone might ask. Because the 6,000's there, but people might wonder like how much
24 days.
we're getting back. But that's based on what you've seen, right, in history?
Average over multiple years.
Yeah, okay.
So some years have been significantly higher.
Yeah,
Depending on life situations. And some have been lower. That is the average. Of what we've been spending on subs, which is why I say I don't budget to the highest year. So that we're covered, I don't do that. I take we do this for the utilities, same thing. What's the average that we're using for electricity over a certain, 4 or 5 years? We look at that. This is the same thing. We look at the data for over numerous years to go, what are we spending? And that's how we.
I mean, they are ground zero for all our sick friends.
Yes,
So
they are.
they get everything brought
And
to
there's-
their office.
No way you could do less than 2.0. with 2 buildings. Because she then will wear the hat, and she's not doing her job. And Lisa will wear the hat, or when Lisa's out or Alicia's out, it will be Marcia. Somebody else will wear the hat, and it's just, it doesn't work. So that's program 5. Program 6 is curriculum and staff development. This is what helps us continue our writing and revision process for curriculum. Typically used to pay teachers for additional work, such as, summer curriculum writing. We have some money in there for that, and it's at their contractual rate. I did reduce this some, looking at the work we've done over the last several years, big professional developments because of new programs. That has started to fade. We are seeing some consistency. And so you can see the support for curriculum leadership, the outside conferences and teachers workshops in-house. I've decreased those, and the professional development committee. I decreased those. And the reason why is, again, looking at the average over the years. And again, knowing where we're at and what we've accomplished for the big items, I've decreased those numbers, and I think rightfully so. I will tell you contractually, if everybody used every dollar that's in their contract for professional development, we should be budgeting $20,000. We budget 7. Again, I'm just looking at history and usage. We're doing more in-house. We're getting more of our people trained. We'll train one and have them come in, than we are sending people out to straight workshops. The team leader stipends is all of the stipends. It's curriculum, it's team leaders. It says just team leaders, but it's really not. It's all the contractual stipends that we have, that 38, and that is a contractual number. And then the paraprofessional workshop, again, we dropped that down because we're doing more in-house training. So maybe our social work, maybe our social worker will do something. We have a variety of trainings that we're using. So you can see the decrease there.
BCB.
Right. And I apply our entire Title II grants as an offset. So the Title II grant, I write as a full professional development grant, and I use the full amount as an offset, $9,699. Apply every dollar.
Almost a 10% decrease in budget.
Thank you. Noting that.
Pointed
Some
out.
of the programs are dropped and they're upstairs, Deb. If you're looking for CIP, they're upstairs. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
It is 9.3. No, you're good.
9.3.
It is a 9.3% decrease, and it's just what it is.
I think, you just said it, but highlighting the point that it's not necessarily that. It's not at all that you're reducing the amount of, staff development or professional development, you're just finding more creative ways to do it.
We're meeting.
I think all of these things go hand in hand. We're talking about the budget, we're talking about responsible choices as far as it goes with the budget. So this is to me. This would be a prime area for someone to say, well, you're reducing your amount that you're paying for staff development and curriculum development, so how's that gonna make things better? It's important that it's not reduced, it's just different.
Need. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not that the amount is going away, it's just where it's coming from is going away. I think there's so many things that interface, whatever.
I reduced the science and social studies money in program 1 in center school for supplies for the programs because they're not out yet. So we reduced it. When the state finalizes social studies work that they're supposed to be doing, and the new elementary version of Open SciEd comes out, we're gonna need to pay for professional development. That number will either increase or I'll determine if I can use what we have there to cover it. Again, it's needs based. Alicia, run, you gotta run. Thank you. Program, can I move on?
Yeah.
Program 7 is utilities. John, the 1%, just about a 1% decrease
Loving it.
in utilities, that's a rarity these days. Again, the water went down $100, I'm just looking at the average usage that we have.
24 for.
And it came down. The electricity, we kept flat because, we had already planned on that, the change in the utility rates that is included. 11.24 cents per kilowatt for supply. The delivery is where we got hit, but we're doing okay where we're at. The energy performance, thank you so much. The energy performance contract lease payments, that's Siemens. And that will go up each year. A little bit each year until it's paid off. We're in year 13 of 17.
4 more budget seasons.
4 more budget seasons.
What's the total on that? Do you have any idea?
I do, I have it on a chart in my office. I think the final payment's like $52,000.
Gonna do some car washes, bank sales.
That's just a frustrating one. Again, that'll be, I mean, it's gonna be, by the time it goes away, it's gonna be 0.5% of your budget that's gonna drop because of that payment alone. So, and you don't have a choice in that one. And then the heating oil, I tell you, like, we shop around constantly. When we see a good rate, we locked in heating oil and diesel this year earlier than I've ever in all my 8 years. Because we're watching the trends and it was significantly cheaper than what we had currently this year. So we locked in. So heating fuel is at $2.24, down from $2.72.
It's a good price.
Yep. And that just makes a huge difference for us. At 39,000 gallons, it matters. So again, not a huge decrease, but when it comes to utilities, having a decrease in utilities is always nice. Questions about that program? Program 10 is fringe. So this has a couple of odd items in it together, but they put substitute and fringe benefits together when they built this prior to me. This currently has an 11% increase. And think about what I talked to you about, we have a placeholder planned at 10% increase in medical insurance because they haven't told us yet. We decreased the substitute line. And again, it's looking at usage. I did not remove the long-term sub because it continues to be used. It was used this year, more than that. But we watch how it's being used, the sublines. And one school in particular has been using more subs than the other. We watched that happens, it's normal. So we decreased it down to 31.5. Again, it needs based on the average for years. The medical, I just want to make sure this is clear. You cannot, we're holding a 10% increase, but you can't compare 24, 25 or 25, 26 to 26, 27 as a 10% increase because the census changes. So what we budgeted for last year was the group of people we knew. We have a new census based upon our staff this year of who needs insurance and who doesn't. And we're expecting a 10% increase. So that's the number. What we're holding right now is the 1.84 million. And same thing with the dental is not to exceed a 10% increase.
If they come back and don't give us an increase like they did last year.
I think we're going out to bid.
You think regardless, we're going out to bid at this point?
If they say, we're gonna give you a 10% increase, I think we're gonna say, thank you very much for your services. Our usage has been outstanding.
Yeah.
For numerous years. It's currently still outstanding. It would be worth us to shop.
Why wouldn't we just do that anyway?
Because there's always risk when shopping that it could be higher than 10%. Health insurance is expensive. That's why.
When will you said February?
They're supposed to, yes.
Okay.
Anthem is supposed to come out in February and let us know what the not to exceed is. And again, our broker said, we have a very good case to be 0.
And if we are zero with the census changing, how much is the budget increasing?
So if we go to a zero, it comes down. What we calculate, it comes down $92,000, we'll call it, and it
Okay,
comes down 0.86.
would be the increase. Not the total budget, just this line item budget. 11.39%. How much of that is? You know what I'm
It
saying?
comes down $91,904. Is that what you're asking?
So that's how much it'd come down.
If, yes, a 10% increase is calculated at 91,904. But you know what? That's medical and dental, John.
Okay,
I did it off of both because I expect, listen. I'm in a battle for this, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm in a battle to get a decrease. Under zero.
because we're using.
That's how good our usage is right now. They are making money on us hand over fist. Because of our usage. Typically, a small group like us will have at least 3 claimants. With over $100,000 open claims. Which is how they rate. We have 1. In the 60,000 range right now. Our usage is outstanding, so they could look at our current census and go. We see that your usage is outstanding, we're gonna put you back to. Give you a 2.5% decrease or a 1% decrease. I think we have the right to fight for that based upon our numbers, that's how good our numbers are.
Isn't our only leverage going out to bid? Because what incentive do they have to give us a low
No,
number?
because they know we'll go up bid, that's why.
Well, that's what I mean.
They wanna keep us as customers. And they know with our usage being so good, they've gotta make us happy. And if they, because of that, see, if our usage was bad, it's all in there, like, they have all the power.
I understand that, but so can we preemptively say, like. We are expecting that our rates due to our usage are gonna be,
That's exactly what happens with the negotiation. So typically the first time we do this is in December. Anthem decided that this year for all their customers, it's gonna be February. It's later than it's ever been. I don't know if they're just waiting to later in their year to see how they're gonna do fiscally. I don't know. And how other, how much money they're gonna make or lose off of other customers. Cause whether we like it or not, our business is just a portion of a small slice of the pie, right? The CEO has to make a $40 million bonus. Right, so in the grand scheme of things. February hits, they come out and say, okay, you're not to exceed it. Our broker is gonna say, that's nice. We expect a 0 within a week. Or we have to go out to bid. Look at our ongoing usage, it's outstanding. You're making lots of money on us. Come back with a real number. If they don't, we go out to bid.
Will you send us that in an email or are you gonna wait?
Once I have the information, I will let you know.
Okay.
he's gonna be sending bat signals up that.
Yes. Yeah, you'll know because you'll hear me yelling it from the rooftops now. So the other items on here, like life insurance is contractual. We kept unemployment and honestly, that's a little bit of a wager, you're kind of hoping that you don't have to spend all that money. But there's years where you spend more than that, and there's years that you don't spend $100 of that, but you have to budget for it. So we take the average of what, Donna thinks that $10,000 number is a safe number. Because it goes quickly if you get somebody that claims unemployment. We did the same thing for workers' comp, it's flat. Social Security is up slightly, that's based upon the salaries going up, you pay a little bit more, so there's more there. I did not have anybody in our survey this year, come back and ask for tuition reimbursement. I left $1,000 in there, someone always then asks, and it's
Oh,
not
yeah, I
gonna
should
be.
ask.
So I left it in there, and then the TSA is contractual, and that's up. So you can see really the primary increase in this is the insurances, both medical and dental.
Time will tell.
Time will tell is correct. And each quarter, if they come from a 10 to a 7.5, you're looking at, each time they come down, it's about $23,000. So if they go to a 5, it's 46, if they go to a 2.5, it's 70, 69,000. And if they go all the way to 0, it's about 92,000 in savings between dental and,
Which is roughly 71,000 increase than if they went to a zero. Cause of census changes, right? Yeah. And the TSA.
that's. Questions about that program? Thank you. So what I've heard from you tonight, is that I will update the special education program based upon the new number. And I will update any other pages in your master document that impact with the $64,000 increase. Brianna, do you and I want to write the letter and then share it with the board next week? Or a letter to the legislators, senators, whoever's working on any of that?
Yep.
Process, you and I can do that. And there was one other thing. What else do you need from me? So far? I'll give you the insurance update if I get it. We might not have that before next week. Non-lapsing number. You want that at the regular meeting, though, right?
I wanted.
You want
Here,
that now?
everything else,
Okay.
exactly.
Yep,
Neon sign every time Arthur walks in. Put it on the TV outside.
yeah, I remember that. I have that on my notes, so I didn't know if you wanted to please.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause that's gonna play into,
Before you got here, Bill ran through the list of questions that you sent him and some of your thoughts. We decided to revisit that next meeting because we want you to be here, obviously, to talk about it. But I want to let you know that we sort of had an appetizer for it.
Okay.
That's what you want.
Thank you. I
All
apologize
really
for my
great.
tardiness.
Not at all, really great ideas, or I'm excited to hear more about what you think of it. Okay. So our next meeting is Wednesday, January 28th at 5:30. We're going to be reviewing program 8, which is operations and maintenance, and program 9, which is system-wide support. We will also have a present to speak opportunity, and we will be reviewing all of the programs not included in 8 and 9 up to that point.
I think typically that agenda. And after the review of the final programs, it goes back to a general discussion. I'm assuming that's what you want again, correct?
Tuesday, February 10th.
No, sorry, I wasn't clear about that. Next Wednesday,
28th.
after we review the two, what are the two programs left, I think?
Yep, 8 and 9.
After the programs in the same meeting, there will be a general discussion about any of the programs, so because you will have seen
So
them.
not specific.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You want that discussion point again. If it's short, then it's short, but it gives you the opportunity to come back to it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Then John.
14, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I.
Who's fast?
7:14.